The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal moon. It was bigger than most cities on Earth, spinning slowly around the gas giant Kepler 442b. Inside its gleaming halls, 12 different alien species had gathered for what they thought would be a simple meeting. Admiral Jake Morrison walked down the long corridor beside Dr. Lisa Grant. Both humans wore their best dress uniforms, but they felt small in this place. The ceiling stretched high above them, built for creatures much larger than humans. Strange lights pulsed in patterns that hurt their eyes to look at directly. "Remember, Jake," Lisa whispered as they approached the main chamber. "We're here to listen first. Maybe we can avoid a war." Jake nodded, but his hand stayed near his sidearm. He had fought in many battles on Earth, but this was different. These aliens had technology that could turn planets to dust. At least, that's what everyone believed. The chamber doors opened with a sound like breaking glass. Inside, the room was enormous. 12 different types of aliens sat in a circle around a raised platform. Some looked like giant lizards with scales that changed color. Others resembled insects the size of cars, with too many eyes and clicking sounds coming from their mouths. At the center of the circle sat Supreme Chancellor Vextar. His lizard-like face showed no emotion as his yellow eyes focused on the two humans. He was the leader of the Zephyrian Empire, the most powerful force in the galaxy. When he spoke, his voice echoed through translation devices. "Humans," Vextar said slowly, "you have come far from your little blue world." Jake and Lisa stepped onto the platform. Around them, alien voices created a buzzing sound of conversation. Lisa could hear some of them laughing. She understood enough alien languages to know they were making jokes about how small and weak humans looked. "We thank the Council for agreeing to meet with us," Lisa said clearly. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was beating fast. A massive insect creature leaned forward. This was Warcast Thok, the military leader of the Hive Collective. When he spoke, it sounded like metal grinding against metal. "Your species has been expanding into our space. You have taken 3 star systems without permission." "Those were empty systems," Jake replied. "No one was using them. All space belongs to the Galactic Dominion," Vextar said. His scale shifted from green to red. "You primitives do not understand galactic law." A holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed human ships floating in space. To the aliens, these ships looked like simple metal boxes with engines stuck on the back. The display showed Earth's defense fleet, 200 ships that seemed to be held together with basic welding. "Look at this," Vextar continued. "Your ships use chemical rockets." "Chemical rockets? We stopped using such primitive technology thousands of years ago. Your weapons are simple kinetic projectiles. Your computers are so slow they cannot even calculate faster than light jumps properly." More laughter came from the alien circle. Warcast Thok clicked his mandibles together in what Lisa knew was amusement. "Our war computers have analyzed your entire military," he said. "Your human brains process information too slowly. You make decisions based on emotions instead of logic. You are weak." The holographic display changed to show the alien fleet. 800 ships of various designs hung in the darkness. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields. Plasma weapons charged and discharged in demonstration. These ships looked like works of art compared to the boxy human vessels. "This is our combined fleet," Vextar announced. "Each ship is worth 10 of yours. Our shields can stop any primitive weapon you possess. Our plasma cannons can melt through your simple armor like it was paper." Jake watched the display without showing any emotion on his face. He had learned long ago that sometimes it was better to let enemies think they were smarter than you. Lisa stood beside him, taking notes on a simple paper tablet. The aliens found this amusing too. They used quantum computers for everything. "Our calculations are complete," Warcast Thok announced. "Your defense of Earth will last approximately 6 to 8 hours. Our fleet will destroy every human ship with minimal losses to ourselves. After that, we will occupy your planet. However," Vextar said, his voice becoming softer, "the Galactic Dominion is not without mercy. We offer you one final choice, humans." The chamber became quiet. Every alien eye focused on Jake and Lisa. The translator devices hummed softly in the silence. "Surrender now," Vextar continued. "Accept your place as a servant species. Your people will live, but under our rule. You will mine minerals for us. You will grow food for us. You will serve the superior races of the galaxy. This is a generous offer." Lisa felt anger burning in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "And if we refuse?" Then your species will be extinct within one standard day, Warcast Thok replied. We will show the galaxy what happens to primitives who do not know their place. The aliens began making sounds that the translation devices said were agreements. They were already imagining their victory. Some were discussing how to divide Earth's resources between their different empires. Jake looked around the chamber one more time. He saw creatures who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had never lost a major battle, and they thought humans were just another primitive species to be crushed. He stood up straighter and looked directly at Vextar. We have heard your offer, he said clearly. We have heard your threats. We have seen your fleet and your weapons. The chamber became even quieter. Every alien waited to hear the humans surrender. We respectfully decline, Jake said. His voice carried to every corner of the massive room. We will not surrender. We will not serve. And we will not go quietly into extinction. Lisa stood beside him. The human race chooses to fight. For a moment, the aliens seemed shocked. Then the laughter began again, louder than before. Warcast Thok made sounds that translated as, they choose death. Vextar's scales turned deep red. So be it. Our fleet will depart for your system immediately. Prepare your final messages to your people, humans. You have perhaps one day to live. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a friendly smile. Thank you for the warning, he said. See you in space. As the two humans turned to leave, the aliens were already making plans for the battle. They discussed which of them would claim Earth's moon as a trophy. They argued about how to divide the human survivors into work groups. None of them noticed that Jake Morrison was still smiling as he walked away. The alien fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system like a storm of metal and energy. 800 ships from 12 different worlds hung in the darkness, their hulls gleaming with power. Energy shields shimmered around each vessel like soap bubbles made of lightning. Plasma weapons glowed red and blue as they charged for battle. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the enemy approach on his screens. The Liberty was the flagship of Earth's defense fleet, and like all human ships, it looked simple compared to the alien vessels. Its hull was dark gray metal with no fancy decorations. Its weapons were mounted in basic turrets that could have been built in any factory on Earth. They're scanning us again, Captain, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from the weapons station. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and steady hands. Same pattern as before. Deep scans on our hull, weapons and engines. Ben nodded. Let them look. Are the dampeners working? Yes, sir, replied Chief Engineer Pete Williams from his station. Pete was an older man with gray hair and oil stains on his uniform. He had built half the systems on this ship with his own hands. Their scanners are seeing exactly what we want them to see. On the main screen, the human fleet looked pathetic compared to their enemies. 200 ships floated in defensive positions around Earth and Mars. Their hulls were dark and simple. No energy shields protected them. Their weapons looked like metal tubes that could shoot chunks of iron. Even their engines seemed old-fashioned, using chemical rockets instead of the exotic technologies the aliens employed. Commander Ryan Clark walked up beside Ben. Ryan was in charge of special operations, and he looked like someone who could fight with his bare hands if needed. The boarding teams are ready, Captain. All ships report green status. Good, Ben replied. How long until they reach weapons range? Amy checked her instruments. Approximately 30 minutes at their current speed. They're not in any hurry. Ben understood why. The aliens thought they were approaching helpless prey. Their war computers had calculated this battle already. They expected to destroy the human fleet in a few hours, with almost no losses to themselves. After that, they would land on Earth and begin the occupation. On the alien flagship, Warcast Thok was reviewing the final battle plans. The insect creature's many eyes focused on holographic displays showing human ship positions. Everything looked exactly as their intelligence had predicted. Primitive vessels with basic weapons and no shields. Begin the approach, Thok commanded. All ships to attack formation. Prepare to demonstrate galactic superiority. Across the alien fleet, weapons charged to full power. Plasma cannons that could melt through asteroids hummed with energy. Quantum torpedoes loaded into launch tubes. Energy shields strengthened to maximum protection. Each alien captain was confident that their single ship could destroy several human vessels. Back on the Liberty, Ben received a message from Admiral Morrison. who had returned from the alien station and was now commanding the battle from Earth. The message was simple. Weapons free. Show them why we're still here. Ben smiled and turned to his crew. All stations, this is the captain. Remove all signal dampeners. Activate true defense systems. It's time to stop pretending. Across the human fleet, switches were thrown and systems came online. The change was invisible to human eyes, but the ships were transforming. Hidden armor plating extended from hull sections. Weapon systems that had been concealed behind false panels emerged and locked into position. The simple chemical rockets were joined by engines that had been hidden inside the ship structures. Signal dampeners offline, Pete reported. All systems showing true readings. Weapon systems active, Amy announced. Railguns charged and ready. All ammunition loaded. Ben looked at the screen showing the approaching alien fleet. Open a channel to all human ships. Amy pressed a button. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Rodriguez to all vessels, Ben said clearly. Today we fight for our world, our families, and our future. The enemy thinks we are weak because we choose to appear simple. They think we are stupid because we do not show off. They are about to learn that humans have survived every challenge our world could throw at us. We will survive this one too. On the alien ships, commanders were pleased to see that the humans were finally responding to their approach. Some human vessels were moving into new positions, but their movements seemed clumsy and slow. The aliens interpreted this as panic from inferior minds facing superior technology. Human ships are attempting to reorganize their formation, one of Vextar's officers reported. Their movements are uncoordinated. Fear is making them act without thinking. Vextar's scales shifted to a satisfied green color, as expected. Primitive emotions cloud their judgment. Continue the advance. The truth was very different. The human ships were moving according to a carefully planned strategy that Admiral Morrison had developed over many years. Every captain knew exactly where to go and what to do. They had practiced these movements thousands of times in simulations. Major Tony Blake sat in the cockpit of his fighter, hidden inside the Liberty's launch bay. Tony was the best pilot in the human fleet, and he led a squadron of 40 fighters that the aliens didn't even know existed. The alien scanners couldn't detect the small ships inside the larger vessels. All pilots, this is Blake, he said into his radio. Remember your training. These alien pilots have never fought in 3 dimensions. They think like creatures that evolved on flat ground. Use that against them. Behind him, 39 other pilots prepared their fighters for launch. These ships were smaller than anything the aliens flew, but they were fast and maneuverable. More importantly, they were flown by humans who had grown up playing video games and thinking in 3 dimensions. Dr. Kate Murphy watched from the Liberty's science station. Kate was the physicist who had designed many of the systems that would soon surprise the aliens. She had spent years studying captured alien technology, looking for weaknesses that human weapons could exploit. Energy analysis complete, she reported to Ben. All alien shield frequencies mapped. Railgun ammunition programmed for maximum effectiveness. Ben nodded. The aliens were about to discover that their primitive opponents had been studying them for a very long time. Human scientists had captured alien ships over the years and taken them apart piece by piece. They knew exactly how alien shields worked, and they had designed weapons specifically to defeat them. Range to target? Ben asked. 15 minutes to weapons range, Amy replied. The aliens are maintaining formation. No change in their approach. Sergeant Rick Davis stood in the Liberty's Marine Bay with his boarding team. Rick was a big man with scars on his hands from many battles. He and his Marines were preparing for the most dangerous part of the plan, boarding alien ships and fighting the enemy on their own territory. Remember, Rick told his team, these aliens need special air to breathe. Most of them can't handle Earth-normal atmosphere. We can fight in their environment, but they can't fight in ours. Use that advantage. The Marines checked their equipment one final time. Their suits were designed to work in any environment, while most alien species needed careful climate control to survive. This was another advantage that the aliens had overlooked. On the main screen, the alien fleet was getting closer. Their ships looked beautiful and deadly as they approached. Energy danced along their hulls. Weapons charged with power that could destroy cities. Shields shimmered with protective force. But Captain Rodriguez was no longer intimidated. He knew that sometimes the most dangerous opponent was the one who looked harmless. The aliens were about to learn that lesson the hard way. All ships report ready, Amy announced. Weapons charged. Fighters prepared for launch. Boarding team standing by. Ben looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 10 minutes until the aliens reached firing range. 10 minutes until they discovered that humanity was not as primitive as they believed. "This is it," he said quietly. "Today we show the galaxy what humans can do." The first shots of the battle came from the alien fleet. Plasma bolts streaked across space like falling stars, each one carrying enough energy to level a city block. Quantum torpedoes followed behind them, their exotic matter warheads designed to tear holes in reality itself. The aliens fired with confidence, expecting to see human ships explode into clouds of metal and fire. Captain Ben Rodriguez watched the incoming weapons on his screen and smiled. "All ships activate adaptive armor. Let's see how well our new toys work." Across the human fleet, the alien weapons struck their targets. Plasma bolts that should have melted through ship hulls instead splashed against surfaces that absorbed and redirected their energy. The quantum torpedoes exploded against armor plating that seemed to drink in their exotic matter and ask for more. On the alien flagship, Warcast Thok's many eyes widened in surprise. "Impossible. Direct hits on multiple targets. Why are the human ships still intact?" His weapons officer, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many branches, checked the sensors again. "All shots confirmed as hits, Warcast. But the human vessels show minimal damage." Thok's mandibles clicked together in confusion. "Fire again. Increase power to maximum." More plasma bolts lanced out from the alien fleet. This time they used their most powerful weapons, the ones designed to crack the armor of alien battleships. The weapons struck human ships with twice the force of the first attack. The results were the same. The human ships absorbed the energy and kept flying. Dr. Kate Murphy smiled as she watched her adaptive armor systems work exactly as designed. "Energy absorption at 95% efficiency," she reported to Captain Rodriguez. "The armor is analyzing each hit and adapting to counter the next one." Ben nodded. "Time to return the favor. All ships weapons free. Show them what human engineering looks like." The human fleet fired back, and the aliens quickly learned that their intelligence about human weapons was completely wrong. What they thought were primitive kinetic projectiles were actually railgun rounds traveling at significant fractions of light speed. The metal slugs hit alien shields with such force that the energy barriers simply collapsed. The first alien ship to die was a beautiful crystal vessel from the Crystalline Collective. The railgun round passed through its shield like it wasn't there, then punched through the ship's hull from front to back. The vessel broke apart in a shower of glittering fragments. "Impossible," Vextar roared from his command ship. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields." But they could, because humans had studied alien shield technology for decades. Dr. Murphy's team had discovered that alien energy barriers worked by deflecting energy weapons and slower projectiles. They were not designed to stop solid objects moving at extreme speeds. The railguns fired rounds that moved too fast for the shields to redirect. Major Tony Blake led his fighter squadron out of the Liberty's launch bay like a swarm of angry wasps. The alien sensors finally detected the small ships, but by then it was too late. The fighters moved in patterns that made no sense to alien minds. Most alien species had evolved on worlds where they only needed to think in 2 dimensions. They flew their ships like they were boats on a flat ocean, but humans had evolved as tree-climbing primates who thought in 3 dimensions naturally. Tony's pilots rolled and looped and spiraled through space in ways that alien pilots couldn't follow. "This is insane," one alien pilot reported as a human fighter passed over his ship, under it, and then somehow ended up behind him. "These creatures fly like they're drunk." But Tony and his pilots weren't drunk. They were using every advantage that millions of years of evolution had given them. While alien pilots tried to calculate the best logical approach to a target, human pilots trusted their instincts and made split-second decisions that worked. The first alien fighter exploded when Amy Foster's targeting computer locked onto it. Her weapons were simple compared to alien systems, but they were accurate and fast. The alien pilot never saw the missile coming because he was still trying to figure out which direction the human fighter would move next. Commander Ryan Clark was having the time of his life. His special operations teams had launched in small, fast ships that the alien sensors barely detected. These ships were designed for one purpose: getting close to enemy vessels and dropping off boarding parties. "Team Alpha, you're go for boarding," Ryan announced as his ship attached itself to the hull of an alien cruiser. "Remember, these things need special air to breathe." breach their life support and they'll be gasping like fish. Sergeant Rick Davis and his Marines cut through the alien hull with plasma torches and poured into the ship's corridors. The aliens inside were tall, thin creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. They carried energy weapons that hummed with power, but the aliens had a problem. Their ship was designed for their specific atmospheric needs. When Rick's team breached the hull, the ship's atmosphere began leaking out and Earth's air began leaking in. The aliens started coughing and choking on air that was poison to them. Masks. Emergency masks! One alien shouted, but it was too late. Rick's Marines moved through the ship like a force of nature, their simple kinetic weapons punching through alien armor that was designed to stop energy beams. Back on the main battlefield, the alien formation was falling apart. Ships that had seemed invincible minutes before were exploding or drifting dead in space. The human weapons were proving far more effective than anyone had predicted. Lieutenant Amy Foster tracked multiple targets on her screen. "Captain, I'm seeing something strange. The alien ships are starting to fire on each other." Ben looked at his display and saw that she was right. Some alien vessels were turning their weapons on their own allies. "What's causing that?" The answer came from Commander Sarah Lee in the Liberty's Electronic Warfare Center. Sarah was a small woman with thick glasses and fingers that moved like lightning across her keyboard. She was the best computer specialist in the human fleet. "I'm into their networks," Sarah reported with satisfaction. "Their quantum computers are incredibly powerful, but they think in very rigid patterns. I'm feeding them false target data and they can't tell the difference between their own ships and ours." The aliens had made their computers too smart for their own good. The quantum systems were so logical that they couldn't handle human-style virus programs that worked by being completely illogical. Sarah's code told the alien computers that their own ships were enemy vessels, and the computers believed it. Warcast Thok watched in horror as his fleet destroyed itself. "All ships, cease fire. Check your targeting systems." But the damage was already done. A third of the alien fleet was dead or dying, and the humans had barely taken any casualties. The battle that was supposed to last hours was already over in less than 30 minutes. On the Liberty's bridge, Ben received a message from Admiral Morrison on Earth. "Excellent work. Ben, time to end this." Ben looked at his crew. Amy was grinning as she targeted another alien ship. Pete was laughing as he watched his engines outrun the fastest alien vessels. Sarah was typing furiously as she took control of more alien computers. "All ships," Ben announced. "Begin final assault. Let's send these invaders home with a message they'll never forget." The human fleet moved forward like a pack of wolves closing in on wounded prey. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were about to discover that they had picked a fight with the wrong species. Vextar's command ship shuddered as human weapons hit its hull. His shields were failing and his engines were damaged. Around him, his officers were shouting reports of more ships lost, more systems failing. "Warcast," one of his officers said quietly. "Perhaps we should consider retreat." Thok's mandibles clicked together in what might have been agreement. The proud warrior who had conquered a dozen worlds was learning what it felt like to lose. But the humans weren't done teaching them lessons yet. The alien retreat began in chaos. Ships that had arrived in perfect formation now scattered like frightened animals. Some tried to jump to faster than light speed, only to discover that Commander Sarah Lee's computer viruses had infected their navigation systems. Others attempted to form defensive lines, but human fighters swarmed around them like angry bees. Supreme Chancellor Vextar stood on his command bridge as explosions rocked his ship. His beautiful scales had turned gray with fear. Around him, his officers struggled to make sense of what was happening. "Status report," Vextar demanded, his voice cracking with panic. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported his damage control officer. "Main engines offline. Shields at 15% and falling. How many ships have we lost?" The communications officer's voice was barely a whisper. "Over 400 vessels destroyed or disabled, Supreme Chancellor. Many more are reporting critical damage." Vextar couldn't believe what he was hearing. His mighty fleet, the terror of the galaxy, was being destroyed by primitive humans. It was impossible. It had to be impossible. On the human side, the battle was going exactly as Admiral Morrison had planned. Captain Ben Rodriguez watched his tactical display with satisfaction as alien ships fell one by one. The Liberty had taken only minor damage, while around it the enemy fleet was being systematically destroyed. "Captain," Lieutenant Amy Foster called out, "the aliens are trying to form a new defensive line around that big red ship. Should we break it up?" Ben looked at the display. The red ship was Vextar's command vessel, and several dozen alien ships were clustering around it for protection. Negative. Let them group up. It'll make our job easier. Major Tony Blake and his fighter pilots were having the best day of their lives. The alien fighters that had seemed so advanced were proving to be sitting ducks. Their pilots flew in straight lines and made predictable turns. Exactly what their flight computers told them was the most efficient path. "This is too easy," Tony radioed to his squadron. "These guys fly like they're following a manual." And they were. The alien pilots had been trained to trust their computers completely. When their systems calculated the most logical approach to a target, they followed it exactly. They never deviated, never took risks, never tried anything unexpected. Human pilots, on the other hand, had learned to trust their instincts. They made sudden turns that confused alien targeting systems. They flew in formations that looked chaotic, but actually followed a deeper pattern that only humans could understand. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Mitchell coordinated the human attack from his command ship, the UES Freedom. Dan was a strategic genius who had studied every major battle in human history. He understood something that the aliens didn't. War wasn't just about technology, it was about psychology. "All units implement Plan 7, Dan ordered. "Time to show them what human creativity looks like." Plan 7 was something the aliens had never encountered before. Instead of fighting in organized formations, the human ships began moving in what looked like random patterns. Some ships retreated while others advanced. Some fired continuously while others held back. To alien eyes, it looked like the humans had lost their minds. But there was method to the madness. Each human captain was following a strategy that adapted to the immediate situation. When they saw an opportunity, they took it. When they faced strong resistance, they found another way around. They didn't wait for orders from headquarters or calculate the most logical approach. They just fought. Warcast Thok tried desperately to predict what the humans would do next. His war computers ran thousands of simulations, but each one gave a different result. "This is impossible," he clicked to his officers. "Their behavior patterns make no sense." "Perhaps," suggested one of his advisors carefully, "they are not following patterns at all." The idea was so alien to Thok that he couldn't process it. His species had evolved as hive insects where every individual followed the collective plan. The concept of independent thinking was as foreign to him as breathing underwater would be to a human. Commander Ryan Clark was leading the most dangerous part of the human assault. His boarding teams had captured 6 alien ships and were fighting their way through the corridors of a 7th. The aliens were discovering that their advanced technology couldn't overcome human adaptability. Captain Nick Taylor kicked down the door to an alien control room and found himself face with 3 creatures that looked like walking flowers with thorns for teeth. They raised their energy weapons, but Nick was faster. His simple kinetic pistol put holes in all 3 aliens before their exotic weapons could charge up. "Control room secured," Nick reported. "These energy weapons take too long to fire. Our old-fashioned bullets work much better in close quarters." That was another advantage the aliens hadn't considered. Their weapons were marvels of technology, but they required time to charge and aim. Human weapons were simple and fast. In the close confines of a spaceship, fast was better than fancy. Sergeant Rick Davis and his Marines had taken over the engine room of an alien cruiser. The aliens inside surrendered immediately when they realized that the ship's atmosphere was being replaced with human air. Most of them couldn't breathe it and were already passing out. "Secure the prisoners," Rick ordered, "and somebody find out how to fly this thing. Admiral Morrison wants to examine their technology." The tide of battle had turned completely. What started as an alien invasion had become a human victory. Ships that had come to conquer Earth were now being captured and studied. The hunters had become the hunted. Dr. Kate Murphy was amazed by how well her weapons were working. The adaptive armor was still absorbing alien energy weapons like a sponge soaked up water. The railguns were punching through alien shields like they were made of paper. Everything was working exactly as she had designed it. "Captain," she reported to Ben, "I'm detecting something interesting. The alien ships use a central computer network to coordinate their movements. If I can access it..." Ben understood immediately. "Do it. Let's see if we can turn their own fleet against them." Kate's fingers flew over her keyboard as she worked to break into the alien network. It took her less than 5 minutes to find a way in. The alien computer security was advanced, but it was designed to keep out other alien systems. It had no defense against human-style hacking. "I'm in," Kate announced, downloading their fleet database now. The information that flowed into Kate's computer was incredible. Ship specifications, battle plans, even the location of alien homeworlds. The aliens had brought their entire military database with them, never imagining that primitive humans could access it. But the best part was yet to come. Kate discovered that she could send commands through the alien network. With a few keystrokes, she began ordering alien ships to shut down their weapons and engines. Across the battlefield, alien commanders watched in horror as their own ships began obeying human orders. Weapons powered down. Engines stopped. Some ships even began transmitting surrender signals without being told to do so. "What's happening to our fleet?" Vextar screamed at his officers. "Unknown, Supreme Chancellor," his tactical officer replied. "Our ships are no longer responding to our commands." Commander Sarah Lee looked up from her computer station with a big smile on her face. "I've got control of their entire network," she announced. "Want me to make them dance?" Ben laughed. "Just make them stop shooting at us." Within minutes, the alien assault had completely collapsed. Ships that had been fighting desperately for their lives suddenly went quiet. The few vessels that were still under alien control tried to retreat, but human fighters chased them down. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the communication system from Earth. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Excellent work. Begin accepting surrenders and securing prisoners. The battle is over." Ben looked around his bridge at his crew. Amy was grinning from ear to ear. Pete was shaking his head in amazement. Sarah was still typing, probably taking control of even more alien systems just for fun. "How long did that take?" Ben asked. Amy checked her chronometer. 37 minutes from first contact to enemy surrender, sir." Ben smiled. The aliens had predicted that it would take them 6 to 8 hours to defeat the human fleet. Instead, the humans had defeated the aliens in less than 40 minutes. But the real surprise was still to come. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake anyone could make. The silence after the battle was almost as shocking as the battle itself. Where minutes before space had been filled with the flash of weapons and the explosions of dying ships, now there was only the quiet drift of debris and the steady hum of human engines. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood in the main hangar of the UES Liberty, watching as alien prisoners were brought aboard. These creatures who had come to conquer Earth now walked with their heads down, their confidence completely shattered. Some were injured, others were simply in shock at how quickly their mighty fleet had been destroyed. Supreme Chancellor Vextar was among the prisoners. The proud leader of the Zephyrian Empire looked much smaller now, his scales a dull gray color that meant defeat in his species. He stared at the human soldiers around him as if he couldn't believe they were real. "I don't understand," Vextar said to Dr. Lisa Grant, who was conducting the prisoner interviews. "Your technology appeared so primitive. Your ships looked like metal boxes. Your weapons seemed ancient," Lisa smiled gently. "Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who looks harmless. We learned long ago that it's often better to let others underestimate us." Admiral Jake Morrison arrived on the Liberty 3 hours after the battle ended. He had taken a fast shuttle from Earth to see the results for himself. As he walked through the ship, he saw alien technology being carefully studied by human scientists, alien prisoners being treated with dignity by human medics, and alien ships being repaired by human engineers. "Status report," Jake requested from Ben as they met on the bridge. 437 alien vessels destroyed or captured," Ben replied. 63 ships escaped and jumped out of the system. Human casualties are minimal. 14 wounded, no deaths. Jake nodded, though he was still amazed by the numbers. The greatest invasion fleet in galactic history had been destroyed by a force 1/4 its size in less than an hour. It would have seemed impossible if he hadn't seen it happen. Dr. Kate Murphy was in her laboratory, studying a piece of alien shield technology that had been recovered from the battle. The more she learned about alien science, the more she understood why they had been so easy to defeat. "It's incredible," she explained to anyone who would listen. "Their technology is far more advanced than ours in some ways, but it's also incredibly specialized. They build everything to work in one specific way, and they never consider that someone might approach the problem differently." Commander Ryan Clark was interviewing Warcast Thok in the ship's medical bay. The insect warrior was recovering from injuries he had received when his ship was boarded by human marines. "How did you know our weaknesses?" Thok clicked weakly. "How did you prepare for weapons you had never seen?" Ryan smiled. We've been studying your people for 50 years. Every time one of your ships crashed on a human world, we took it apart and learned from it. Every time we captured one of your soldiers, we asked questions. We've been preparing for this day since we first learned that you existed. The truth was starting to sink in for the alien prisoners. The humans hadn't gotten lucky. They hadn't stumbled onto some amazing new technology. They had simply done what humans always did. They had adapted, learned, and prepared. Major Tony Blake was in the pilot ready room, debriefing his squadron. His fighters had destroyed over 100 alien vessels without losing a single pilot. The alien fighters, for all their advanced technology, had been helpless against human tactics. The key, Tony explained to his pilots, was thinking in 3 dimensions. These aliens evolved on worlds where they only had to worry about threats coming from in front of them or behind them. They never learned to think about attacks coming from above or below. It was a lesson that applied to more than just flying. Human evolution had given them advantages that no amount of technology could replace. They were adaptable, creative, and capable of thinking outside the patterns that trapped other species. President Helen Carter addressed the galaxy from the White House 12 hours after the battle. Her speech was broadcast on every major communication network, reaching billions of alien worlds. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm and steady. Humanity did not seek this conflict. We would have preferred to join the galactic community as peaceful partners. But when threatened with extinction, we defended ourselves. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Let this be a lesson to any species that considers humanity weak or primitive. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and every natural disaster our world could produce. We have thrived in environments that would kill most galactic species. We are not easy prey, the message continued. However, we do not seek to become conquerors. Any species that approaches us in peace will find humanity to be valuable allies. We offer trade, knowledge, and friendship to all who want it. On alien worlds across the galaxy, the news of the battle spread like wildfire. The Galactic Dominion, which had ruled space for thousands of years, had been defeated by a species that most aliens had never heard of. The implications were staggering. Dr. Grant was interviewing Vexitar in his holding cell when the former Supreme Chancellor asked the question that was on every alien mind. What happens now? Vexitar asked. Will you invade our worlds? Will you enslave us as we plan to enslave you? Lisa shook her head. That's not who we are. We'll return your survivors to their homeworlds with a message of peace. But we'll also keep some of your ships and technology as insurance. If anyone else decides to attack humanity, they'll face the same fate you did. The captured alien technology was already being studied by human scientists, not to copy it but to understand it and develop defenses against it. The next alien fleet that came to Earth would find an even more unpleasant surprise waiting for them. Commander Sarah Lee had spent hours going through the alien computer networks. What she found was a complete map of galactic civilization, trade routes, military bases, diplomatic relationships, and the locations of hundreds of alien worlds. We're not alone anymore, she reported to Admiral Morrison. There are dozens of species out there who might be willing to trade with us. And now they all know that we're not as primitive as we look. The battle had changed everything. Humanity was no longer a small, isolated species on the edge of the galaxy. They were now a major power that other civilizations would have to respect. 6 months later, the first alien trade ship arrived at Earth. It wasn't from any of the species that had attacked humanity. It was from a small, peaceful civilization that had heard about the battle and wanted to establish diplomatic relations. Captain Maria Santos of the UES Discovery met the alien ship at the edge of the solar system. The aliens were nervous. They had heard stories about the fierce humans who had destroyed the greatest fleet in galactic history. But when they met the humans face to face, they found people who were friendly, curious, and eager to learn about other cultures. The humans were warriors when they needed to be, but they preferred to be explorers and traders. Welcome to our system, Captain Santos told the alien delegation. We're honored to meet you. The galaxy was learning that humanity had many faces. They could be peaceful scientists, skilled diplomats, or deadly warriors depending on what the situation required. But above all, they were survivors who refused to give up no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The Alien Council had predicted humanity's defeat in hours. The humans had won in minutes. But more importantly, They had won the right to determine their own destiny among the stars. As Admiral Morrison watched the first alien trade ship dock at the new orbital station above Earth, he smiled. The galaxy was a big place full of wonders and dangers, but humanity was ready for whatever came next. They had always been survivors. Now they were something more. They were a force that would shape the future of galactic civilization. And they had done it by being exactly what they had always been: adaptive, creative, and absolutely refusing to quit. The age of human space exploration had truly begun.